What's up, everyone? Welcome to my podcast. This is the Astro Priya podcast. I'm Priya, your personal writing accountability partner. Now, why Astro Priya? I love space. I love sci-fi, fantasy. I love writing about it. And guess what? I also applied for the NASA astronaut program in 2011. I didn't make it, but I'm somewhere out here in space. If you see the screen on my Substack video, I'm floating in space outside of Earth. But granted, I am writing about space themes in my books. So I'm doing this podcast because I'm just keeping it real. I'm just a girl from Queens, New York, writing my books, finding like new methods, new ways to do things, learning along the way because nothing is perfect. And I'm still trying to do this. And I'm letting you into what's going on with me so that you have insight and you could do either something better or follow along and try to achieve your own writing goals. So I had recorded 4 new episodes for my podcast when it first came out. And there's some tips in there. I want you to go check them out. But I haven't been on for a month because so much has happened. I've made so much progress in my book series, and I'm going to share with you exactly what I did. Follow along, and I hope this inspires you on your own writing journey. Okay, so She is a Wild Wolf. Let's start with book 1. Book 1 has been done, like overdone, because I was trying to edit it. I interviewed a bunch of editors, didn't hire anybody, but I was just still trying to do it by myself, And then I just took a pause. I'm like, I just need to step back, write book 2. And I did that. I wrote book 2. I got 2 drafts done. And I even started book 3 in the last month. Yeah. I am so excited about book 3 and where it's going to go. And I think that even inspired me to really clarify book 1 even more. Because, okay, the main character in my book, Tala Strata, is a mom from Brooklyn. And she gets abducted by aliens. And she goes through all these things, discovers she has powers, goes through all these things, and is just fed up. She's over it. She's so over it. A New Yorker over it. And I was having a hard time describing, what is her journey? What is this book about? I know it's sci-fi. I know it's fantasy. There's some romance and spice in there, but I was having such a hard time describing it. And I even redid my synopsis because I submitted my book to a boutique press company in the last month. And I did that because I was like, okay, let me kickstart it back up again. I had stopped. I submitted it to 61 agents last year, literary agents, and I got 39 no's. So I actually got 1 no last month, almost a year to the day that I had submitted it. And the girl was like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is like a year later. But please, I'll be at a different agency, submit it again to the other agency. So I just got to watch out for that and Google her later and find out where she's at and resubmit it. It wasn't a no. It wasn't a no. It was something, right? But this boutique agency, one of my author friends who we also interviewed for the Books and Martinis podcast. Share, follow, and subscribe, guys. Her name is Margarita. Shout out Margarita. And this is the press company that picked up her books. And they're opened up a submission session. And I submitted book 1, but I had to redo my synopsis because what I had before was just too thick and compact, and there was I was trying to put too much in there. And I wasn't thinking enough about the marketing. And I kind of feel like that was probably the reason why I wasn't picked up during the first time I did all the submissions to literary agents. And that's okay. This is all a writing journey, right? And you're going to hit the same hurdles too. You might have a killer synopsis and get people to respond and request manuscripts after that. But you might also experience what I did. And you get a ton of no's. But no does not mean that you're a failure. It just means that you're trying, and you're trying more than most people. Yes, you are trying more than most people. So I redid my synopsis. I am loving it. I finally got it down to science. People that I shared it with 4 people. I shared it with 2 of my cousins. They're really close. I haven't read anything about my book yet, except for seeing my memes online. I shared it with my husband, and I shared it with my writing accountability partner, Mercy, who happens to be my co-host for Books and Martinis podcast. And they all gave me like similar feedback. Like, I think you're complaining too much. I think Tala's complaining too much. And I don't want to read about another woman complaining. And that really hit hard. I was like, oh, you know what? That's right. Like there's some serious themes in my book, but I really want it to be fun and marketable and engaging. And if you're having fun, those serious themes will probably sink in a lot better than if you're not and you're just sad for the character the whole time, right? And I don't want my character to be a complaining person because I know that annoys me. So I redid the synopsis and then I submitted it to the boutique agency and crossing my fingers that I get a good response. And if I don't, that's okay because I know there's always work to do, improvements to make, and there's always another agency that might see the vision that this one didn't. So I did that. I submitted it to to the agency book one. And then I told you I drafted book two. I did 2 drafts and I submitted it to my alpha reader. So in my support system for my writing journey, I have lots of different people around me that are helping. And I highly recommend you do this if you haven't already. You get your peoples, get them in place, and they're all going to play different roles, right? So right off bat, I got my husband and he's around me all the time. So he can't escape, right? So I'm always bouncing ideas off of him, talking about what's bothering me about the writing process, getting his input, reading stuff to him to see how, what his reaction is. And granted, he's not my target market. My target market are older women my age. Uh, his feedback is good as a dude. It's good. It's good to have it. Then I have a couple of my kids. I have 3 kids. One of them in particular, Liam, he's always giving me good feedback for my book. I even have a couple character names that he suggested inside She is a Wild Wolf and a whole plot line. Yeah, that he suggested. He's been amazing. And then I have my writing accountability partner, Mercy. So she's on her own writing journey, kind of like you and I right now. She's on her own writing journey. And she and I have been meeting for the last, 2 years over our book and our books and comparing our goals, talking about what's, you know, not working, what we can do better, what is working, and sharing those tips and techniques with each other. And I highly recommend, other than myself, because I would love to hear from you on what you're doing, I would highly recommend you get your personal writing accountability partner. You could meet with on Zoom. It could be a Bookstagram friend that's writing a book, already did a book that you trust. It could be a best friend. It could be maybe a teacher, a mentor, somebody in your target market also might work because Mercy is in my target market. And then I had my beta readers and my alpha reader. So my alpha reader is above the beta readers. And my alpha reader happens to be my creative arts therapist. And she read book one, gave me so much feedback. So book one was like therapy, straight up therapy for me. And it was just amazing having that support from her and talking through all the themes about the female archetype, which actually came from her creative group. We did an improv group that used a book called Women Who Run with Wolves, and it discusses the female archetype. And it's straight up inspired She is a Wild Wolf. Now, Tala's name means wolf. I can give that up. Her name means wolf. That's why the title is She is a Wild Wolf. And it wasn't like clear in the book. People are like, is this about werewolves? No, it's about space. So I added in the synopsis a couple lines about being a wolf and how that compares to Tala's journey. So I have my alpha reader. She has book two and she has my synopsis, and I'm so excited to get her feedback. No pressure on her because I'm trying to get book one out, but at least she has it. And then I had beta readers who were looking over book one, reading it for me, giving me their fun feedback. And the last couple beta readers I had for book one were like, okay, you need an editor. That's where I started interviewing editors. And granted, I didn't hire one, but I did learn a lot in the process. Um, but beta readers are so important. I think they're before ARC readers. So ARC readers are advanced reader copies. So when the book is done and you just want reviews and really good feedback from the general public, ARC readers are great. So that's another subset of your support team. And try your best to like get other people, get feedback of like little things. So I had my cousins, my two sweet cousins I grew up with, we're like sisters basically, and they gave me feedback for my synopsis. I've been talking about my book forever, but they'd never read like anything about it. So having that outside perspective when they don't know anything about it was hugely important. And that's where they gave me the feedback. They don't want to hear about anybody complaining. As women, they want to escape. You and I want to escape, right? When you talk about sci-fi, fantasy, romance, spice, you want to escape. So I had to really weave that into the synopsis. And then this is where it gets good for me. I interviewed an author. Her name is Lauren Ling Brown. Shout out Lauren. And this author is a Reese Witherspoon Book Club author. Her book, Society of Lies, was featured in Reese's book club, and we interviewed her, and she recommended this book. I don't know if you could see it. I'm going to put it, a screenshot inside the video, but it's called Save the Cat. Now, I'm a writer, author of books, but this is for screenwriters. It's called The Last Book on Screenwriting That You'll Ever Need. And she used it for writing her book, and she's also in the film industry, so she uses it for other, for screenwriting. So I cracked open this book, and it was like, oh, like I saw the light. Oh my God. And so I have a hard time describing what my book is, and because Tala does so much, she is a lot of things. But I had a hard time like coming up with my elevator pitch. So today's episode, long story short, after I've given you my little update, is about your elevator pitch. Like, how are you pitching the theme of your book? It's kind of like, so it's called the log line in screenwriting. And your log line is your marketing tool. It's how you are describing your movie if you're in an elevator with somebody. It's supposed to include everything, it's supposed to be quick, witty, ironic, sexy, and makes a person be able to picture what your story or movie is about. And in Save the Cat, the author is Blake Snyder. She recommends you start with your log line before you write the screenplay or write your story or write your book. And you might be saying like, huh? I just want to get all of it down. I even told you to dump everything down on paper, which is true. But you need to back up now because you need to back up now. Because like I said from the beginning, we're doing this together, right? We're experiencing this together. This is real time that I'm learning this, because she's saying to create your elevator pitch and your log line before you write your story, because it'll be much more succinct, much more marketable, and you'll be able to describe it better. It's sort of like, a pyramid. You have the log line at the top, and that the pyramid's like spreading out to the base, like you're describing the whole story from the tip of the pyramid, right? So I worked on my log line and I got it. You guys want to hear what my log line is? So if you guys remember from our previous episode, I talked about having tools available for your writing journey. And one of them is having your notes app. So if you're watching on video, see, I'm pulling up my notes app. And in my notes app, I have my log line elevator pitch ready, because I still have to memorize it, guys. This is fresh. This is fresh off the boat. Okay, you ready for this? She is a Wild Wolf is the origin story of an unlikely superhero. A mom from Brooklyn who snatched off her couch, dropped 32 million light years from Earth, hooks up with hot aliens, and discovers she has superpowers. Bam! Oh my God. You don't know what a relief it is to finally come to terms with the fact of who Tala Estrada is. She's a superhero. She's an unlikely superhero. And I got all of that from the first chapter or two from Save the Cat. Deep breath. Deep breath. She is a Wild Wolf is the origin story of an unlikely superhero, a mom from Brooklyn who snatched off her couch, dropped 32 million light years from Earth, hooks up with hot aliens, and discovers she has superpowers. So, my elevator pitch has four components that I had to work on. All right, so I'm going to pull up the book right now and I'm going to read these components to you. You ready? Do you have your pen and paper? Now, if you don't have this book, I highly recommend you get it. And in the meantime, with your pen and paper, you're going to take these notes. So essentially, your log line is like your elevator pitch. It's like a sexy marketing tool that you describe your book, that you sell your book with, you sell your screenplay with, your movie idea with, and it's going to have four components. The first one is a good log line must have irony. So the irony in my log line is that it's a mom from Brooklyn, but now she's an unlikely superhero. There's irony in that because moms are supposed to be superheroes right here on Earth, super moms. But she's out in space, 32 million light years in space, and she's an unlikely superhero. She has superpowers, and she hooks up with hot aliens, and she's a mom. Isn't she married? There's so much irony in that. So right off that, I have my irony. Number two, does it have a compelling mental picture? The second most important element that a good log line has is that you must be able to see a whole movie in it. When I read my log line for She is the Wild Wolf, do you see a whole movie? Yeah. Like what comes to your mind? Sexiness, adventure, sci-fi, superpowers. Am I blasting people with my superpowers? Like you can see a whole movie in that. What kind of bad guys is she fighting? I know she's hooking up with hot aliens, but what kind of bad guys is she fighting? You know, you have to be able to have irony and be able to see that irony in your log line in your mind. You have to be able to picture it. Number three. Okay. Marketing. You love your book. It's your baby. You pour so much passion into it, but it has to be marketable. That's what literary agents want to know. That's what publishers want to know. Even as an indie author and you publish your book has to be marketable. It has to be sexy enough for somebody to pick up. Okay, so not every writer writes fantasy or sci-fi, right? You have some autobiographies, you have some memoirs, you have historical fiction, but it still has to be sexy and compelling enough. And I'm going to keep saying sexy, even though the book might not have sex. It has to be compelling enough for you want to pick it up, look at the cover, flip through, read what it's about, maybe even read the first couple pages for someone to purchase it and buy it and love on it and hopefully give you a good review, right? It has to be marketable. So the third one is audience and cost. Another thing a good logline has that is important to attracting studio buyers, again, this is a screen playbook, is a built-in sense of who it's for and what it's going to cost. So obviously this is not going to be a movie. Maybe it might be a movie. Let's manifest it right now. It's going to turn into a movie. But at least the first part, who's it for? Who's going to want to read about a mom from Brooklyn who's an unlikely superhero who hooks up with hot aliens, discovers she has superpowers? One guess. Middle-aged women that want to escape. that might have been a mom, interested in becoming a mom, who might have fur babies, whoever she is. She wants to escape because now there's hot aliens. What do those hot aliens look like? Ooh, I don't have a guy in my life. I'm kind of bored. I want to escape and hook up with some hot aliens too. Like right there, you could see the target market. Okay. Number 4 is a killer title. So this one I've been like massaging a little bit, trying to figure this out because I am stuck on She is a Wild Wolf, but it's not published yet. So there is a chance I could change it. Should I change it? So lastly, what is intriguing about a good logline must include the title. Title and logline are, in fact, the 1-2 punch and a good combo that never fails to knock you out. So the title must have irony and tell the tale. Now, granted, there are a lot of movies that you don't know what the movie's about just from the title, right? A good one would be Interstellar. Interstellar, right away, you know it's about space. Interstellar means they're going out far into space. But what exactly happens? Who's in it? Okay, so right away, I'm captured. If I love sci-fi, I'm captured by the title. Interstellar? Matthew McConaughey's in it? Oh, Anne Hathaway? Well, I want to know more, right? And then you have the log line for it. Obviously, I don't have the log line for Interstellar. That was just off my brain. But you have to have that 1-2 punch. So She is a Wild Wolf and the log line, I got to marry a little bit. So I have to figure that out. And hopefully I'll have that for you guys. Again, we're working together on this. I'm your accountability partner. You're my accountability partner. So we're working together on this, and hopefully I'll have that straight. We'll see what happens. But at least I got the first 3. You have to make it ironic. You have to make it sexy and audience worthy, and give someone a compelling mental picture. And of course, the 1-2 punch with the title and the log line. Yeah. So you guys got a lot of homework. So if you're writing your book right now, stop. Take some time to think about your elevator pitch. What is it? Are you okay? Let me back up even more. So if you're a pantser and you're just writing a story, you don't have a plan because pantsers just dump their brain out. I can understand why a log line might not make sense right now because you don't have the whole story, but you have a general idea. At least craft one that you can work with and change as your book changes. So stop what you're doing and work on that. But if you're a writer that plans and has a whole storyboard and like everything worked out, notes and all that stuff, stop, think about your story and create your elevator pitch before you go any further. And make sure it works and it syncs up with your story. So that's your homework, y'all. Oh my God. And now time for your space news. Okay. So I'm recording this the week of March 24th. On March 29th, 2025, there will be a partial solar eclipse early in the morning. It'll start at 4:50 a.m. and end around 8:45 a.m. EDT time. And it's partial, so of course you won't see the whole sun disappear. I think about 94% of the sun will be covered, but make sure you have your viewing glasses. Do not look up in the sky without viewing glasses or you will burn your retina. Okay? So this is your warning. Don't do that. But there's going to be a partial solar eclipse. It should be phenomenal. And some people even saying that, when it happens, to look out for the sunspots. There are going to be some sunspots there you might be able to see. It might be big enough to see. So that's my space news. March 29th. Look out for it. Let me know how it goes. Don't burn your eyeballs. And make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe to the Astro Priya podcast. Also check out the Books and Martinis podcast. All right, guys. See you next time.